Changing a single habit can make a huge difference in your life, and that habit involves learning to focus on what you can control. When you start thinking about what's within your control and focus on that, your actions will lead to positive results. This may sound simple, even obvious, but it's often overlooked or not taken seriously. However, taking the first step and changing some of the behaviors that are harming you can completely change your life. But how can we learn to think this way? And how can we make it a habit? The answer lies in Stoicism, a philosophy that helps ordinary people like us find peace of mind and strengthen ourselves to overcome challenges. But why is a philosophy that originated over 2,000 years ago still useful today? Because its teachings are clear, easy to understand, and simple to follow, applicable in any situation, no matter what we're going through. The practice of Stoicism is a powerful tool for transforming yourself and focusing on what truly matters. And based on these principles, in this video, we'll talk about how to think and act in relation to what you can control. Now let's talk about the things that are within your control and that you can change. What you say. If you're in your 20s, you'll probably agree that you wish you had learned and practiced speaking earlier. This would certainly have prevented many problems, helped you avoid missing opportunities, maintained some relationships, and eased some sadness. In life's race, we often behave like drivers on a high-speed track, with our foot on the accelerator and the reflexes to swerve around every obstacle. When someone hurts our feelings, it's as if an emergency alarm goes off and our defensive instinct takes over. In that moment, we react without thinking, acting impulsively, as if trying to win an imaginary race where our pride is at stake. Pain and resentment blind us, and the desire for revenge becomes almost impossible to control. Imagine you're driving on a winding road and suddenly an animal crosses your path. Your first reaction is to slam on the brakes, perhaps even turn the steering wheel sharply to avoid a collision. But just like on a real road, impulsive action can have disastrous consequences, not only for you but also for others around you. Our thoughts and feelings are like this road. If we don't control them, we can end up in a much more dangerous place than where we started. When we allow ourselves to be swept away by a whirlwind of emotions, it's as if we're swimming against a strong current, becoming increasingly entangled in a whirlpool of pain and anger. The words we speak in the heat of the moment are like arrows we carelessly throw away. Once spoken, we can't retrieve them, and they can cause great harm. Amid this chaos, we may invent stories and try to justify why we feel the way we do. But like a storm, this tide of emotions eventually passes, leaving behind the remnants of our reactions. When the anger has subsided and everything has become more peaceful, we are left alone with the consequences of our actions and words. Regret sets in and shows us how much more calmly and sensibly we could have handled the situation. In hindsight, we realize that instead of reacting explosively, we could have taken a deep breath, stepped back, and let calm guide us. Perhaps true victory in life lies not in racing for victory, but in knowing when to slow down, take a breath, and choose a wiser path. After all, the driver who wins a race is not always the fastest, but the one who knows when to slow down to avoid disaster. These impulses are part of our human nature, a legacy from a time when survival depended on quick, instinctive reactions. Even though we live in a modern world, we still retain many of these ancient instincts, even if quick action isn't always the best way to solve problems. These days, everything seems to happen so fast and our minds try to keep up. But unlike our ancestors, who had to react quickly to escape danger, we face different challenges. Nevertheless, our primitive instincts are still present, and we often act rashly without considering the future consequences. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, leads us to reflect on what makes us human and how rational thought influences our lives. He reminds us that it is the ability to think that distinguishes us from animals, and if we fail to use this ability, we behave like them. So when we're faced with challenges and provocations or feel uncertain, Stoicism offers us a different approach. Instead of reacting rashly, we're encouraged to pause, step back, and breathe before reacting. This pause gives us the opportunity to consider a careful response rather than acting impulsively based on the feelings of the moment. And sometimes, the best response can be silence, a conscious decision not to escalate unnecessary conflict with words that can cause problems. No matter how hard you try to focus on what you can control, sometimes your emotions get the better of you. After all, we're all human and imperfect. When it's difficult to respond rationally, even after some thought, silence can be a real sign of strength. It helps you stay calm in times of pressure. Learning to focus on what you can control starts with a fundamental skill: thinking before you speak. Imagine that your words are like seeds you're planting. If you don't choose carefully which seeds you sow, you could end up growing weeds. So start by practicing intentionally planting them during simple, everyday conversations. This could be a casual chat with a friend or an exchange of ideas with a colleague. Observe the impact of your words and how they influence the conversation. The idea is to mentally step back before responding. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a moment to reflect. This doesn't mean staying silent for too long, but rather pausing briefly to consider how best to express yourself. It's like adjusting the focus of a camera. You want to make sure the image you capture is clear and precise. By practicing this kind of mindfulness, you train yourself to be more aware of your reactions and ensure they are thoughtful and appropriate. As you gain confidence in this practice, you can apply this approach to more serious and difficult conversations. Whether it's an important discussion with a loved one or a tense situation at work, you'll find that this skill not only improves your interactions, but also strengthens your ability to remain calm and clear-headed, even in difficult situations. Demonstrating that you can control your reactions instead of trying to control the world around you is a true sign of strength. True strength lies not in dominating others or circumstances, but in maintaining control of yourself. By repeatedly practicing this thought before speaking, you will become a better version of yourself. And remember, every carefully considered and chosen word is another step toward mastering yourself and building healthier, more respectful relationships. Epictetus spoke of philosophy not just as a set of abstract ideas, but as a true guide to life. Think of philosophy as a map for a journey. He reminded us that it's not what happens to you that matters, but how you react to it. This means that even when a storm is brewing, the way we handle it determines our experience. Think of a difficult situation, such as a hard day at work or a disagreement with a friend. What matters is not only what happened, but also how you react. You can react with frustration and anger, or you can choose to remain calm and seek solutions. By reflecting on your reactions and consciously adjusting them, you begin to control what is truly within your control, your reactions. Stoicism invites us to explore our own way of interacting with the world, as if creating a unique work of art. Every decision, every reaction, is a brushstroke on the canvas of our life. Through this practice, we can express our true nature and show the world our individuality, while aligning with the wisdom that comes from within. Instead of fighting what we cannot change, we can shape the way we respond, creating a more authentic and balanced life. Reflecting before we act doesn't mean denying who we are, but rather becoming better. Imagine that our feelings and impulses are like a diamond in the rough. If we don't work to improve them, they can take us places we know deep down we don't want to go. Controlling our reactions is a great power we possess within us, and the more we practice it, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle that, as we use it over and over again, becomes stronger and more flexible. When you wake up in the morning and choose your clothes, think about what suits your style and the mood of the day. In the same way, the situations we encounter in life are like these clothes. How we react is our choice. Everything we do, every word we say is a decision, whether we think about it or not. Acting without thinking is like putting on the first piece of clothing we see without considering how it will make us feel or how others will see it. It's as if we let the wind decide for us, instead of choosing our own path. Epictetus reminds us that if we don't make our own decisions, we end up living by the decisions of others. That is, if we don't pause to reflect but simply react, we allow other people's situations and feelings to determine our actions, This is like a boat without control, at the mercy of the waves and storms. However, if we practice self-control and reflection, we take our lives into our own hands. With every step, we decide who we want to be and how we want to live. So instead of following your first impulse, see every situation as an opportunity to choose carefully. Let your actions and words reveal who you truly want to be. Just as a sculptor creates his masterpiece with every stroke of his chisel, you shape your life with every decision you make. In the end, what you create will be something beautiful and true, an expression of who you are, guided by thoughtful and purposeful choices. To change our behavior, we must first understand where these behaviors come from. Often we do things the way we were taught, based on what we've come to believe and value. These habits can be so deeply ingrained that we do them automatically, without thinking. Therefore, if we want to change, we must look deeply within ourselves without judgment, but with curiosity. We must ask questions, explore our motivations, and understand why we do what we do. This is the first step toward real, meaningful change. I've told this story before in old videos, but it's always good to remember. Once a woman was preparing a ham for dinner and trimmed the ends of the meat. Her husband was confused and asked her why she did that. She replied that her mother always did it that way. That evening, her mother joined them for dinner, and they took the opportunity to ask her why she trimmed the ends of the ham. She explained that she did it that way because that's how their own mother did it. Curious, they decided to call their grandmother and ask her why she trimmed the ends of the ham. The grandmother replied, "Because her mold was small." Sometimes we follow traditions that no longer make sense, but we continue to do so because that's how we've always done them. We need to ask ourselves whether these traditions are still useful to us today. This first step is important because it helps us change and act in a way that truly reflects what we want to be. Setting clear goals is like drawing a map that shows where you want to go. Without a map, it's easy to get lost along the way. Just as a navigator needs coordinates to reach their destination, we too need clear goals to guide our actions and decisions. Seneca gives us a clear picture of the importance of having a specific goal. Imagine you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, with choppy waves and unpredictable winds. If you don't have a compass or a map, it's as if you're trying to sail without a destination. You can row and strive, but without a clear course, you'll just end up going in circles and circles. It's similar in life. If we don't know where we're going, any direction may seem appropriate, but it won't get us anywhere. The second step to transforming your life is to set clear and achievable goals. These goals are like lighthouses in the darkness, illuminating the path ahead. For these goals to be effective, they must be specific, like setting a clear destination on a map. They must be easy to measure so we can track our progress and know when we've reached our goal. They must also be achievable to avoid the frustration of striving for something unattainable. They must be relevant to our lives and have a set deadline to instill a sense of urgency and purpose. When we set goals this way, we create milestones along the way. These milestones allow us to measure our progress and stay motivated. Having a goal in mind allows us to plan our route, set our sails, and row with purpose. Every step we take toward our goal brings us closer to the finish line and transforms our efforts into tangible progress. So instead of simply reacting to life's events, we begin to shape our future with a clear vision and a well-defined strategy. Your goals should be clear and easy to achieve. For example, if you want to become more patient, one goal could be to count to 10 before speaking up when something is bothering you. Try to do this at least once a day for the next week. As you practice this gradually, you'll get used to being calmer. Clearly defined goals make change easier. The SMART system is a method for setting goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-limited. This method helps you make your goals clearer and more achievable by showing you the right path to take. This means you need to commit to a specific course of action, measure your progress, ensure the goal is achievable, that it will truly make a difference in your life, and that it has a deadline for completion. When we know exactly what we need to do, it's as if we're drawing a map our brain can follow. This map helps us orient ourselves precisely without getting lost, saving time and energy. Imagine that every decision you make is like a fork in the road. If you don't know where to go, you'll spend a lot of energy thinking and deciding. However, if you already have a plan, you can move forward with confidence and use your thoughts for more important things. When you conserve mental energy, you'll be more efficient and productive. Think of an athlete training to improve. They perform the same movements over and over again until they become automatic. When you establish clear routines, your brain will work automatically and efficiently, without you having to think about each step. This allows you to focus on creative tasks and solving difficult problems instead of wasting your energy on mundane decisions. These changes may seem difficult at first, but they're worth it. It's about trying new ways and perhaps changing some old routines. For example, if you want to be more direct, you can start by expressing yourself clearly in simple conversations. Instead of going around in circles or over-explaining, try to say what's on your mind directly and clearly. This doesn't mean you have to be rude or hasty, but rather communicate your ideas in a way that leaves no room for confusion. Each time you practice this way of communicating, you're helping your mind get used to being clear and direct. It may seem a bit awkward or even uncomfortable at first, but over time it will become more and more natural. As with any new skill, constant practice is the key to success. Soon you'll find that those around you respond well to this direct way of speaking, and this will help this new way of communicating become a part of your personality. When you change your routines and try new behaviors, you open doors for further improvements in your life. The confidence that comes from knowing exactly what to do in every situation will help you in other areas as well, creating a virtuous circle of growth and efficiency. It's like tuning the gears of a machine to work better. Every small change makes the machine run more smoothly and efficiently. By clearly defining what you'll do and how you'll do it, you not only save mental energy, but also lay a solid foundation for greater productivity and efficiency. This clarity gives you a sense of control and confidence that can transform how you deal with daily challenges, allowing you to focus on what really matters and achieve your goals more easily. This will help you gain more confidence and make this new way of doing things a natural part of your life. For example, if you want to take better care of your money, it's a good idea to create a budget and write down everything you spend throughout the month. At first glance, it might seem a bit boring to write down even small things like a coffee or a snack, but it's like looking for a leak in your house. If you don't find the problem, you could have a nasty surprise on your bill at the end of the month. If you're unable to follow this step, you may be struggling with constant anxiety. This is very difficult these days and can lead to paralysis in our daily lives. To help you, I've created a video explaining how to overcome this problem using Stoic philosophy. Click the link in the first comment and watch it now. The same applies to money. If we don't know where it's going, we often spend it thoughtlessly. The SMART method can be helpful here. Set a realistic spending goal, write down everything you spend to track your progress, and commit to doing so over a specific period of time, such as 3 months. Controlling our actions affects all areas of our lives, as if they were a series of interconnected gears. Imagine a car where each gear represents a part of your life: moral, financial, physical, social, and spiritual. If one gear fails, the car will no longer function properly. Even if the other parts are in good working order, sometimes we try to adjust one gear but neglect others. For example, you might want to become a more ethical person but neglect the importance of taking care of your physical health. Or you might want to improve your attitude but leave your finances disorganized. To achieve balance, it's important to consider each cog in the machine and ensure they're all working harmoniously. This means we must take full responsibility for our actions and decisions. Regularly evaluating our progress helps us see how we're progressing and where we need to improve. Celebrating small victories keeps motivation high, and learning from mistakes helps us correct course. While changing behavior is challenging and often fraught with obstacles, every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Viewing these difficult moments as learning opportunities can help us evolve and move forward. By focusing on what we can control and evaluating our progress, we tune our gears to run smoothly, creating a cycle of continuous improvement that leads to a more balanced and fulfilling life. When you learn to focus on the things you can control, you begin to develop a healthy mindset. This will help you improve in all areas of your life. Over time, you'll feel less irritable and anxious, and negative emotions will be less likely to get in the way of your daily life. Effective action will become second nature to you. How we understand and evaluate what happens in our lives is very important for our personal growth. Every situation, whether good or bad, is an opportunity to practice how we want to respond. Imagine you are the director of your own movie, deciding how you want to portray each scene in your life. This learning begins with the practice of mindfulness, which involves focusing our minds on what we can control. While this may seem to happen automatically, it's a skill that can be improved over time and through constant practice. Our judgments and interpretations are like a painter's brushstrokes, shaping the landscape of our reality. We live in a world filled with social media, where we constantly receive a multitude of information and images. The speed with which we judge and interpret every post or story can be impressive, but it also reveals a lot about ourselves. We're accustomed to making snap judgments, like, dislike, admire, criticize. However, by developing a deeper awareness, we can begin to question these automatic reactions and adopt a more considered and conscious approach to the digital world and life in general. Although we've learned a lot about making judgments lately, we can still decide how we evaluate and interpret what happens to us. The basic tenet of Stoicism is simple. We don't react directly to events, but rather to what we think about them, and these thoughts are under our control. Marcus Aurelius speaks in his Meditations about how it's not external things that bother us, but what we think about them, and that we can change these thoughts. According to Stoicism, our experiences consist of three parts. First, the event occurs, then we make a judgment about it, and finally, we react based on that judgment. Our goal is to understand that between the event and our reaction lies our judgment. Sometimes this judgment can be wrong or confused, but we can learn to control it by thinking more clearly. This means we can change our responses because we are responsible for how we understand what's happening around us. It all starts with the realization that our view of the world is shaped by our beliefs, opinions, and thoughts. In short, our responses are guided by our judgments, and we have the power to change those judgments. Swiping a cell phone screen or selecting fruit may seem like such a trivial action that we don't even give it much thought. Yet for the Stoics, every small decision is an opportunity for self-awareness and reflection. Imagine that every gesture, from choosing an apple at the market to replying to a text, is a chance to observe our thoughts and understand how our minds work. The Stoics urge us to view these everyday moments as mirrors for our feelings and reactions. When we're faced with mental challenges, such as an insult, this perspective becomes even clearer. It's easy to feel sad or angry when someone says something unpleasant to us, but the Stoics remind us that these emotions are ultimately our own choices. If you feel hurt by an insult, it's because you've chosen to give those words power. Recognizing this, you can choose not to be influenced by the words of others. It's like having a remote control for your own mind, allowing you to change the channel and not allow the words of others to affect your well-being. This understanding transforms the way we live our daily lives. Instead of automatically reacting to situations, the Stoics teach us to pause and reflect. We can choose how we respond to provocations and challenges by denying power to external situations and maintaining control over our own inner peace. In this way, we transform every interaction and every decision into an opportunity to grow and become stronger by living according to our principles and not allowing ourselves to be controlled by our feelings. This basic idea teaches us something very important. External events alone cannot make us sad or cause emotional pain. They are neutral, like pieces in a chess game that remain in place until we choose to move them. The true power lies in how we understand and respond to these situations. We are the ones who make sense of the events around us and shape our emotions and reactions based on this understanding. Imagine you're walking down a street and suddenly it starts to rain. Rain in itself is just a natural phenomenon, but how you deal with it makes all the difference. You can get upset and complain that the rain is getting your clothes wet and disrupting your plans. Or you can see the rain as something good that brings the nature around you to life and continue on your way undeterred. The event is the same, but the experience changes completely depending on how you choose to approach it. By embracing this Stoic perspective, we gain a valuable tool for dealing with life. Instead of being tossed about by circumstances like a leaf in the wind, we become like a tree trunk, solid and stable. Storms may come, but our inner calm remains intact, protected by the deep roots of the realization that it's not external events that disturb us, but the way we react to them. This inner calm is like a lighthouse on a rough sea, guiding us to rest, even when life's waves try to pull us under. It's the peace that comes from knowing that while we can't control everything around us, we always have control over how we respond to it. And in doing so, we discover that peace and happiness depend not on what happens outside of us, but on what we cultivate within ourselves. Practicing emotional control helps us live with greater ease and clarity. When faced with challenges, instead of allowing frustration or anger to overwhelm us, we can take a deep breath, calmly observe the situation, and choose the wisest response. Over time, we'll find that many of the worries that once troubled us become less significant. This change doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing process, a journey of discovery and growth. But by adopting this Stoic perspective, we commit to living more consciously and fully. We take control of our lives without allowing the outside world to dictate how we should feel or act. In doing so, we create a space within ourselves where peace and serenity can thrive, regardless of external circumstances. Ultimately, this philosophy teaches us that the key to true happiness and contentment lies not in trying to change the world around us, but in changing the way we see and respond to it. This is a simple yet powerful lesson that can completely transform our lives. We usually think we're reacting to the things happening around us, but in reality, we're reacting to our inner feelings. Sometimes it's easier and wiser to change ourselves than to try to change the world. The Stoics believed that the way we think about our feelings shapes our experience. Seneca, a philosopher who followed Stoicism, reminds us that everything depends on how we see things. The desire to have more, to live in luxury, and greed come from the way we see the world. He says that a person's sadness is only as great as the intensity with which they believe they are sad. For example, physical pain or the flu are real, but how much these sensations bother us or what meaning we give them depends on us. Our feelings of pain or pleasure can increase or decrease depending on what we tell ourselves about them or how we judge them, often without realizing it. Think about the last time you had the flu. Beyond the physical discomfort, you often told yourself, "I hate being sick, this flu is awful, I don't like feeling like this." These judgments are made automatically, and we are often unaware of their impact. But the Stoics recognized this and encouraged us to pay attention to these judgments. They show us that we can change the way we judge things, and that doing so can change our lives far more than we realize. The goal of Stoicism is to help us recognize these judgments so we can learn to deal with them in the best possible way. The way we view the things that happen every day is very important for how we interact with the world around us. We are often unaware that our interpretations are influenced by our beliefs, past experiences, and even our deepest fears. These distorted ideas can grow and become a part of us, changing the way we see reality and even limiting our options for action. However, when we realize that we can shift our perspective, we open the way to true personal transformation. When we challenge our habitual interpretations, we can see things differently and find more positive and useful meanings even in the challenges we face. Understanding that we can change the way we see things is the first step to embarking on a journey of self-knowledge and inner growth. We all have the ability to change our thoughts and perceptions, and making this a daily habit can help us live a more fulfilling and happier life. Your engagement with the concept of control isn't just a video theme, but a deep and personal reflection on your own journey. By exploring the dichotomy of control, You explore how focusing on what's truly within your grasp can radically transform your life. Think of it like a great work of art, where each brushstroke represents a conscious decision not to be swept away by the unpredictable winds of what's beyond your control. When you begin to apply this idea as an essential habit, it's as if you're molding your own life with a new kind of clay. Every moment of conscious choice is an opportunity to create a more balanced and serene future. This constant practice of filtering out what can and cannot be controlled is the key to a journey of personal growth and transformation. Consider the challenges you face as a workout for your mind. By focusing only on what you can actually change, you build resilience and improve your ability to cope with life's uncertainties. The idea of controlling only what's within your control isn't just a strategy, but a way to deeply connect with your purpose and potential. This personal transformation isn't just a change of habits, but a true evolution in the way you interact with the world around you. Think about how a small shift in your perspective can make a big difference. Imagine you're trying to build a house. If you focus only on the parts of the construction you can control, such as the design, materials, and planning, instead of worrying about the weather or the people around you, your project will go much more smoothly. This is exactly what happens when we focus on what we can control. When we think only about what we can do and put aside what we can't, we can move forward with greater clarity and focus. This habit of focusing on what's within our reach is like a powerful tool that helps us tackle problems with more confidence. For example, if you want to improve your health, instead of worrying about what others eat, you should instead eat healthy and exercise. Over time, these habits will become part of your routine, and your life will improve. Og Mandino, an author who has overcome many challenges and succeeded in creating good habits, said, "Create good habits and become their slave." This means that the habits we develop are the key to real and lasting change. Just as Mandino found his strength in discipline, we too can live better lives by developing habits that reflect our commitment to what we can control. When we become slaves to these good habits, it doesn't mean we're trapped. It means we find freedom in routine and consistency. This freedom comes from focusing on what we can control and not worrying about things we can't change. Instead, we can walk with confidence knowing we're doing the best we can. Ultimately, this video is an invitation for you to join me on this journey of personal transformation. By embracing the idea of focusing on what we can control and creating positive habits, you can discover a new way of living. Peace and fulfillment come not from trying to control what we can't, but from focusing on what is within our grasp. This approach can fundamentally change the way you view life and approach daily challenges. With that in mind, the final part of our video is about what turns the intention to change into a habit: your commitment. It's the commitment you make to yourself that will keep you watching this video again and again, learning and strengthening your resolve every day so you can put what you've learned into practice. Commitment means being determined. If you decide to do something, you can't just do something else. All changes, no matter how difficult and time-consuming, are possible. But it's very important that you commit to your own life. You must learn to control your will and become master of your desires. The journey of personal growth begins when we realize that we can take control of our own lives. Learning to decide what we say, what we do, and how we see things isn't just a skill, but an opportunity to make real changes. When we begin to take control of our own lives, we can also positively influence those around us. It's like throwing a stone into a calm lake. The ripples that form spread outward, touching everything around them. Stoic philosophy serves as a beacon, illuminating the path of our inner journey. Think of philosophy as an instruction manual for life, offering mental practices and values that serve as indispensable tools for navigating the complexity of existence. By embracing these principles, we find a path that leads us to a richer, more authentic life. Living according to Stoic ideals is like building an emotional fortress. It's not about accumulating material goods or following external standards of success. Instead, it's about cultivating true inner wealth, a kind of emotional treasure that empowers us to face life's challenges with serenity and balance. Think of Stoic philosophy as gardening for the soul. Instead of planting only flowers that quickly bloom and fade, cultivate a forest of virtues. Each Stoic value you embrace, like wisdom, courage, and justice, is like a robust tree that grows and develops, putting down deep roots that sustain you through stormy times. These Stoic practices help transform adversity into opportunities for growth. Imagine life as a meandering river. Instead of fighting against the current, Stoic philosophy teaches us to navigate with confidence, adjust our course as needed, and remain calm even when the waters become choppy. This inner balance not only helps us overcome challenges more easily, but also gives us a lasting sense of peace and purpose. Beginning this journey doesn't require major changes, but rather small steps every day. A simple way to begin is to think about the things we can control in our lives. This way, we let go of unimportant worries and focus on what truly matters, our own growth and the positive impact we can have on those around us.